Fantastic. Guys, there's 3 reasons for your notes on why people do not get the results they're looking for inside of our profession. 3 reasons only. Number 1 is you're not doing it right. There's some people who just legitimately suck at what we do. They're not good, to be not politically correct. And you've seen some of these people, you just watch them and it's like, oh, no. They're just, they're not doing it right. The second reason is you're not doing it enough. There's some people who are actually pretty good, who are talented at what they're doing, but they just don't do it enough. They do it so slowly and so sporadically that they never get traction in their business to really get a lot of results from it. The third reason is a lack of personal development. They're weird.
Yes.
You've seen these people, they say the right words, but they're just weird. That's what it is. So these are the real point of personal development, why to listen to the tapes and go out there and read the books, is to work on you to where you look normal doing what you're doing. And the way to do that, there's this path of competence here. Jess did such a great job talking about the path to mastery. I want to talk about the 4 stages of competence. The first stage of competence is unconscious incompetence, meaning you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And you don't even know that you don't know it. So somebody give me an example of something that you don't know that you don't know. It's a trick question. You don't even know that you don't know it. Now the second stage of this is conscious incompetence. Conscious incompetence, meaning now you know what you don't know. There are things that I know that I don't know. I do not know how to speak Italian. And I know that I don't know how to do that. I know that I don't know how to fly an airplane. And I know that I don't know that. Now think about it. There was a time when you guys had never ever seen a bicycle before. You'd never seen a bicycle, never saw anybody else ride a bicycle. You didn't know what a bicycle was. And you didn't know that you didn't know how to ride a bike because you didn't know what a bike was. And then all of a sudden, one of your friends, maybe for Christmas, something like that, gets a bicycle and he's out there on the street, Christmas morning, riding his bike around outside, and you're like, oh, look at that. That looks awesome. And now you, for the first time, know you don't know how to do that. This is the second stage. The third stage is conscious competence, where you know that you know something, but it takes all of your mental facilities, your faculties, to be able to do it. It takes a lot. So there's things that, because you haven't done it long enough to become a master at it, it takes a lot. Now, those of you guys that have ever learned to ride a bike, right? When you learn to ride a bike, typically, if you're anything like how I grew up, somebody who knows how to ride a bike is kind of out there, kind of showing you how it's done. So maybe start with your training wheels on, so you got a little more confidence. And maybe you guys making a decision, like, all right, I'm taking the training wheels off. We're gonna do it, right? And it's kind of scary. And as long as whoever's teaching you has their hand on the back of the seat, and you think that they're still there, like you're good. But as soon as you realize that they're not there anymore, that you're gonna fall over. You guys gonna did that? Remember learning to turn for the first time? You gotta take up the entire street to turn, and it's you're like, it's like a big awkward thing. Now you're riding a bike, but you're not. It's taking all of your mental ability to be able to do it and focus. The fourth stage is unconscious competence, where you do something and you don't even know that you know it. How many guys have ever driven somewhere and you get to your destination and you don't even remember driving there? Like you pull up in your driveway and you're like, oh my gosh, we're home. Like I didn't even realize. The reason why teenage drivers are so dangerous and so risky, like even from an insurance standpoint, is because they don't have their 10,000 hours of mastery behind it yet. It takes all of their mental faculties. Any of you guys learn how to drive on a stick shift? You guys remember? You remember park on a hill? And it's like, oh my God, okay, I gotta,
yeah.
You're just stalling out constantly. Now you're driving, but it doesn't look so good. Now think about it. Those of you guys driving now, I see people driving now, looking on their, sending texts out, putting on makeup while they're driving. You know what I mean? Eating, all this stuff. You're so unconsciously competent, you don't even think about it. How many of you guys can ride a bike today with no hands? Right now, think about it. No hands. Now, I want you to imagine for a second, you have who's a parent in the room? I imagine you have your son, your daughter, they're young, they're 5 years old, and they get their first bike. And they're excited to ride it, and they watch somebody else ride by with no hands. Hair blowing in the wind. It's looking glorious, right? And it's just, they see that, and it's awesome. And this 5-year-old says, no, I could never do that. I'll never be that good. What would you say to him? Yes, you will. Yeah, you will. Like, but I'm going to fall down. What would you say to him? You're probably right. You're probably going to fall down. But that's okay. If you get back up and ride some more, eventually, I promise you, if you keep riding, you will go out there and be able to have, no hands, wind in your hair. It's going to be awesome. You will spend zero time ever thinking about falling down. People watch Jesse and I sometimes in doing this business and are like, oh, you make it look so easy. People don't really say no to you. You probably don't even get rejected. And that's partially true, partially not. I still deal with rejection and everything else, but nowhere near as much as I used to.
Kind of give you 2 examples on this just to help. Is in driving your car, and I love the analogy. How many guys have ever left work and you needed to go to the store and you wound up in your driveway? And you're like, oh, all right. Now, what was driving you, number one, but here's the reason why I want to give this analogy, is that you need to be careful. Your habitual programming will take you back to what it's used to if you're not paying attention. Ooh. So it will just continue to take you back. And the same thing, like what Joe was saying, like in the beginning, I used to get objections like, I don't have time, I don't have money, is this one of those things, is this a pyramid? I don't remember the last time I got that objection.
I almost never.
And people say, how is that possible? In the beginning, it may seem like it, and over the course of one of the reasons we put this program together is we started thinking, because there were people asking us questions, well, how do you do this? And I'm like, what do you mean, how do you get someone on a 3-way? You just do it. People say, well, how do I do that? Would you just... And sometimes, because it's been 12 years, I've been full-time in this profession for 12 years. So, going back, it's hard sometimes to go back a dozen years to remember what it was like learning something 12 years ago. The same way it would be like hard and be like, well, how do you ride a bike? Well, you ride it, right?
Right.
Okay.
There's so many people that look at Jesse, right, and they're like, man, I could never ride with no hand. I promise you, though, if you engage in this process and you continue to commit to it long enough, I promise you this business will be about feeling the wind in your hair. It will be zero about worrying about falling down. You'll spend zero time thinking about it. It will be purely about feeling the wind in your hair, and I promise you there'll be other people that come along in your business that look at you and say, oh man, I could never do that. I could never ride like you, and you'll laugh and say, yes, you can. Right? They'll say, oh, but I'm going to fall down. You say, yeah, that's probably true too. But if you keep riding, you'll feel it. So this is this process today. A lot of you guys today are going to walk out being fully conscious of how incompetent you really are in the business. And that's a good thing. That's a good place to be, where now once you know what you don't know, then you can begin that process to mastery and to being fully competent. So